You show any emotion, it's a problem. You're weak. You're mentally weak. You're showing emotion. You're mentally weak.
Yeah, that's right. And it's not, is it, bro?
No, it's strength, man.
Wow, this is a theme, you know, Anton.
I've done it because I had to.
And you wanted to earn it and not feel like it was just because of my
brother. And this is what I say to people, because I had a goal to be a footballer and nothing weren't getting in the way of it.
Take us on that journey through that whole racism with John Terry, Mo. Yes, another episode of the Dr. Prince Show with your host, Dr. Prince OBE. And as usual, our wonderful viewers, we have awesome guests. So this week we have none other than a very special individual. There's only one of him on the planet, in the universe. It's none other than Anton Ferdinand. Yes, my brother.
Nice, man.
Lovely to see you, man.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for taking this invitation, bro. As you know, this platform, King, is about allowing the viewers to sit ringside as you take them on a journey through your life, bro. And just being vulnerable, keeping it real, just speaking from the heart. I'd love you to just start by sharing with them how your journey began, because a lot of people don't see individuals who are high profile as just that, individuals who've worked their way up, you know, and sometimes it's easy to throw darts at people. So let's roll with just how you began, just like everybody else does in their life from a child.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Peckham, South East London, on an estate which was very multicultural. Just on my landing, we had an African family, had us, who were West Indians, and my mum being English, white English. We had Chinese on our landing, but the whole estate was just multicultural, and it was a community more than anything, you know, to a point where I think that's what's missing in today's society, is the community feel. People call it a community, but it isn't a community that I know growing up. When I say community, I mean in the sense of, if I was on the other side of the estate and I was acting up and I was doing something stupid, someone else's mum or dad could tell me about myself and it wouldn't be a problem.
Got you.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
and you'd pattern.
Exactly.
Yeah, you'd fix
you
up.
respect them. You respect them.
No doubt.
You know what I mean? It was one of those, like, say it was on the other side of the estate.
Yeah.
And someone's mum saw me doing stupidness. Anton, what are you doing? Fix up yourself.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, miss.
Was that standard behaviour?
Standard.
Yeah.
Standard.
That's right.
And that's what I mean by community. As long as no one didn't put their hand on me, they could tell me about myself.
That's it. But no one was beating you or trying to abuse you.
No, there was a line.
They will correct you.
They will correct me. But they'd ring my mum or my dad and say, Anton's playing out. I just told him he's coming back over. Do you know what I mean? And it was a community in that sense.
I hear you.
You know, everyone had our back.
No doubt.
And just went from there to obviously playing run-outs. We used to play 40-40 home.
Yeah.
You know, we'd
play. Those are the things that make you happy when you're a youth, innit?
Knock down ginger, you know what I mean? But on the estates, when the dogs used to get sent out for you, you'd be jumping flights of stairs to get downstairs, and then either jumping on a car or on the roof of one of the buildings, you try and get up on the roof so the dog couldn't get you.
Yeah.
But football, playing in the cage, man. And we had a place called the Back Grass, which was in between our block of flats and another block of flats. And it was like Wembley, man. It was our Wembley.
Yeah.
But it was a Wembley that had dog poo on it. And you had to dodge dog poo while you were playing. That's how you honed your skills. That's how you worked on your skills.
Easy.
But not just on my estate. Across the road from my estate was an adventure playground. Called Leighton Square Adventure Playground.
Okay.
And one of my brother's best mate, Gavin Rose, he's Dulwich Hamlet's manager.
Okay.
He was my coach from young.
When you was little.
From when I was young. Rio had started to move away, not move away, but he was starting to go West Ham all the time and stuff. And I was on the adventure playground, but that's where I learned a lot of my skill set, really, not just as a footballer, but
Yeah.
as a person.
I hear you.
You know, there were life lessons on there. You know, you had to deal with all different types of characters.
Yeah.
You had to get on with all different types of characters.
Do you remember any?
Yeah, I mean, we had a traveller named was John Paul.
Yeah.
They look at life differently.
That's it.
You know, I had African friends who looked at life differently.
That's a different
I had
culture.
Caribbean friends who looked at life the same way I did.
Yeah.
I had
Who was the bad man on the estate?
there was loads, man.
Because there
was loads.
Every estate's got 'em.
There was loads.
Yeah. Who was the one that was causing the problems?
There was loads. There's no, I can't pinpoint one person. You know, it wasn't an estate where one person's a bad man.
Yeah.
It was,
Yeah.
you know, it's like on an estate. Past certain times, everyone's out and about.
So what was your parents like? Did they want to protect you?
Yeah.
Was they open to let you out? How was the mindset? Did you grow up with your mum and dad in the home?
So my mum and dad split up when I was 5.
Okay. Do you remember how that affected you? How you felt?
It didn't affect me at the time. It affected me when I went to school. In secondary school, it affected me.
Wow. Big one.
People that know me know that I'm well mannered. I was brought up with manners. Manners are free. Please, thank you.
Yeah.
You know, more than anything.
No doubt.
You say please for nothing. Do you know what I mean? Even if it's a little thing.
Yeah.
Please, thank you. Even if it's little. That's
Was
the way
your
we were brought up.
generation still calling people auntie and uncle and they weren't? Was that,
when I go
out
to
of
friends,
respect?
when I go to friends' houses, especially my African friends, that is a given. You go in there, you go in their household, you try to call their mum by their name, they will ignore you, or they'll say, "Who are you addressing like that?" It's auntie or it's uncle.
That's right.
And that's always stuck with me.
I hear you.
And it's like, my mum and dad split up, and it didn't affect me really till I went to secondary school, and I became not troublesome, but I answered back.
Okay.
I became disruptive, you know, and that's where it came out. And I didn't realise till one day I got suspended, and my dad was disciplining me for being suspended, and he asked me why am I doing it? Why am I doing it? And I just shouted, because you're not at home.
Wow.
You know, and I don't think he knew how to take that. But
wow,
it was that's how I knew. That's how I knew it was something that's where it affected me.
How did he receive that, bro?
Me and my dad, we got an unbelievable relationship, you know, and
because it seems like you really wanted him in your life.
yeah, my dad, and he's my hero, man.
Yeah, you wanted a relationship with him.
But it was like, it's not that I didn't have a relationship. I did have a relationship with him. My dad, and this is what I mean. The stereotype of a black man in that era was to have children and duck out and run.
Yeah.
When my mum and dad split up, my dad moved to the estate next door. He was present.
Okay.
My dad was present. Okay. I wanted him in the house.
In the house. Yeah.
That's what. But I didn't understand that until he started asking me them questions. After he disciplined me, that had just come out.
I feel you.
I wasn't thinking it.
Yeah.
It just come out.
It just came out of you.
You know, and I think
it's like your soul instinctively knew, I need you, bro.
It just come out naturally. And
do you think a lot of these youths are suffering inside, but it's not coming out like how it came out in you, but really it's daddy issues. It's issues of not feeling loved and being a dad, valuing them enough to commit to being there all the time.
I don't think it's always just the love. It's the support. Like, and I was going to get onto that when it comes to playing football.
Yeah.
I wasn't the best player on my estate, in my age group.
I hear you.
But I'm the only one who had a career out of my friends.
I hear you.
But I wasn't the best player. I was always technically good.
That's really
but I wasn't the best
interesting.
player. But the difference from me to them was I had supportive parents who took me to football, who supported me on the sideline,
Wow.
who always kept it real with me. Like I'm doing an effective board members course at the moment.
Yeah.
Right, and my dad will never ever say to me, he will at some point, but he will never ever say to me, "You're doing well." But that takes me back to when I was a kid, when I was playing football. If I thought I played well, I'd come in and get in the car. I'd be like, my coach has told me I played well. You weren't the best today, Anton. I'd be like, what? Like, what do you mean I weren't the best? Like, the coach told me, from what I know, remember I've watched you since you were 6 years old play football to now. You're better than what you play today. So for me, you didn't play well today. That's how he always challenged me. And he done it to Rio too. That's how he always challenged us to be better. And it was always a case of, because sometimes within the system, you can get carried away. Within the system, people blow smoke up your ass and say, you know what? You were unbelievable today. You were good. You're a player. You're a player. But I always knew the truth was coming when I got in the car.
Wow.
You know, because my dad, it was coming from a place of love. It weren't coming up.
Did you understand that even then?
No.
Or was that later?
No, later on
So
in
it
life.
kind of felt a bit deflating when you got in the car
Yeah.
and dad's not really praising me the way these. Because when you're young, all you want to hear is praise, innit?
Of course you do.
You don't want to hear no one telling you you could have done something better. You just want to hear that you played the best.
Exactly. That's what you want to hear. But my dad always my dad would always say to me, don't get me wrong, at times he was like, you was good today.
No doubt. No doubt.
Because he didn't want to deflate me every week.
Of course.
But he'd see me getting to a point where maybe I was getting a bit too confident. And he'd go, you know what? And I'd bop in the car, I'd walk with a bit of swag because like, the manager told me I was good today.
Yeah.
And he'd just go to me, you weren't the best today, Anton.
Wow. So what we're getting from this is that people that are listening, and you always sometimes want to just tell your young people that how they're just the greatest at everything. It's good to let them know that they've got greatness within them and they've got potential, but it's also really important to show them that you got to stay focused, because it's easy when you're young to get carried away with the praise.
Yeah.
Instead of don't lose sight of the goal, which is 100%. To be the best you can be.
The best version of yourself, man. And I never stopped learning as a footballer until I retired. You know?
Yeah.
And
even now as a person, you probably with that mindset, you're using it to still improve and grow as a
100%,
grown man.
like I said, I've had to reevaluate my life and look at it in a different way.
Yeah.
And go, do you know what am I doing next? And this is why people that know me, when I was a kid, education, I'd done it because I had to.
Wow, this is a theme, you know, Anton.
I've done it because I had to.
Yeah, it's not the first time I heard of this. Why wasn't it sexy to you, education?
Because
what did you like doing that made education like, I don't need it?
If a lesson wasn't enjoyable, I weren't invested in it.
Okay.
I weren't invested in it at all. If it wasn't something that I enjoyed doing, I weren't invested in it.
You switch off.
I switch off. And anyone who knows me, who went to school with me, I would sit in the back and I'd sing, or I would like joke about.
Okay, so it's not that you were trying to be bad, but the teacher might process that as a bad behaviour. So you end up getting in trouble, but you ain't trying to really be bad. You're just not switched on.
I'm not switched on because I didn't enjoy it.
Wow.
Even now, doing this effective board members course, I'm a practical learner because that's what I've known. Because practical is enjoyment to me.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying practical stuff.
Yeah, there's different learning techniques.
Yeah,
different
I'm a
learning
practical
skills.
learner, right? Putting things on paper.
Yeah.
From I understand it, but putting it on paper, that's the hard part for me.
I hear you.
It's now understanding that, getting better at it, or finding another way of being able to use my practical to articulate it in a way where I don't need to put it on paper. But there's going to come a point in the roles there where I want to go, I'm going to have to put it on paper.
Yeah, because you're in business now.
Yeah, but that's going to come with experience. Keep doing it. Keep doing stuff. That's what it's going to come with.
Practice, yeah?
Practice. They say practice never makes perfect, but practice makes you better.
Yeah.
Perfect, no one's perfect.
Yeah.
But practice can make you better.
Love it.
And that's what I'm on now.
Yeah.
I've reevaluated my life. I've been through some hard times. But one thing I didn't want to do is, my son's 7 now. I didn't want him to see his dad who's retired from football and just chills. I want him to see, right, my dad's still got a work ethic.
Yeah, dad's on the grind.
It's not that he had a work ethic because he's doing something that he loved doing every day and was privileged to do it.
Yeah.
My dad's got a work ethic no matter what.
No matter what.
Dad, where you going? I'm going work. I never called football, I'm going football to my son from when he could speak, 3 years old. It was never, Dad, where you going? I'm going football. No, Dad, you going work. It was work. Nice. Dad.
Work that you're passionate about.
Exactly. Where you going? I'm going work. I'm going work, son. Okay. Where are you going, son? Where are you going this week? Where are you going? I'm going Centre Parks. Why are you not coming? I can't come because I've got work, son. But do you know why you're able to go to Centre Parks with mummy for the week? No, why is that? Because Daddy's going to work. That's why you can go Centre Park. If Daddy don't go to work, you can't go Centre Park. And listen, everything I do is for my wife and my kids.
Yeah.
Right?
Have you found that balance? Because, there's that other side where we as men, we want to provide so much that we could unbalance stuff by not getting that time to spend to not just let him go Centre Park, but we get to go Centre Park with him and we allow work. Have you been able to, on your journey, find that balance to get that right, Anton? How's that going?
Do you know what the biggest thing is for me is, it wasn't until I retired, I was like, raw, I've missed out on so much, man.
Well done, bro.
And I refuse to allow that to happen again. To the point, even something simple, like in half term, going into London to go to a museum or go to the aquarium. I've never been able to do that.
Easy.
Because people will say, oh yeah, you finish training at 1:30, you're home by 2:30, you still got the rest of the day to do that, to go there. But when you're an elite footballer, you're not thinking about, thinking about the next day. I need to be ready to train at an elite level the next day. There's no room for error. And that's the way that
you was thinking.
That's the way that I was thinking for so long. And it wasn't until I retired that I went to an aquarium and then went to Shrek Museum,
having fun with your youths.
Westminster, with my wife and my kids, and it's like, this is unbelievable. This is unbelievable.
It's fun, man.
And I'll never get into the mode where I allow myself not to engage in that type of thing again. You want to be present? It's different when you're, I want to be present. It's not that I wasn't present, I was present.
Totally.
But there was times when I was present and I had to switch off.
That's right. So you want to be present where I know and I'm aware of what's going on, whether I get wrapped up in my work too much and I'm not spending enough time with the people that I love.
Exactly.
And I really want to be
with. But football don't allow you to do that. Christmas time is the perfect example.
Exactly.
I now understand what Christmas is. My son's 7. For 5 years, I was like the Grinch. I didn't get involved in Christmas. I didn't see the beautiful side of it, the exciting side of it. I never saw it. My wife's from a family where it's exciting. Even birthday is not a birthday, it's a birth week. Like you get treated for the week and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean?
I try to reach mine for the month. My missus stretches her
do you know
for
what I
the whole
mean?
of December.
I'm not from that. I wasn't brought up in that way. But like Christmas is a perfect example. For years, I've been my wife coming up, it's 10 years I've been my wife, right?
Congrats, man.
We're talking, thank you. So we're talking for a large part of that, her family are there, they're enjoying themselves. When people start to enjoy themselves on Christmas Day, I'd go into another room. I'd take myself out of that environment and go into another, they're all having a drink, having a joke, playing games and stuff.
Wow.
I'd go into another room because my thought process will be, right, the person I'm playing against tomorrow, he ain't doing this. He's thinking about playing against me tomorrow, he's thinking about the game tomorrow. I can't allow him to have that edge. I'd take myself out of that environment and move, and I'll go asleep. Or I had to leave and go to a hotel.
So if you had another go, you might do that a little bit different now based on how you feel and what you know and what you've learned now. Would you do?
No,
you would do the same thing again?
I'd do the same thing.
Because for you had to have that mindset to be able to produce the goods on the pitch.
Yeah, and I'm not saying I always did.
Yeah. You're just saying that's the mindset
That's the
you
mindset that was the way that I looked at things. That's the way that I saw Rio do it.
I hear you.
Rio's my idol, my hero.
Yeah.
He's the best in the world in his position. I'm going to do what he's doing.
Go on.
So do you know what I mean? That's what I saw.
Of course.
You know, they're sacrifices that you have to take.
So what impact, because we were chatting about, being a little youngster in Peckham, playing on the estates, the football. Tell me a bit about that. You, Rio, on the estate with the man then playing football, the effects that had on you seeing Rio kind of develop and him coming home saying, yeah, I got scouted or signed, and how that got and how did it affect you? What did you think? Was you always driving to that's me?
Yeah. And this is what I talk about when I talk about support. Right? So from the age of 9, so I signed for West Ham at 9 years old. Right? And Rio was 14 when he signed for West Ham.
Okay.
Then Rio started to develop. And when Rio started to become known, so we're talking as he became a youth team player, so 16.
Okay.
16 people started to know about Rio. Then it was, Rio's got a younger brother in the academy as well. And the minute that started to happen, the pressure was mad. It was crazy. But when I talk about support, see my mum, my mum, my dad, my brother, my big brother, they made me understand very quick, it don't matter what people think outside of these 4 walls of our flat. It's about what we say in here, and we know you're a good player in your own right, and that's all that matters. So I was able to bounce things off of me. I heard some crazy things at 10, 11 years old. He'd never be as good as Rio, he's rubbish. I go to get a ball, and I'm hearing that.
Wow.
From parents on the sideline. And it's like, wow, how do I deal with that?
Wow.
But I'd always go back to my bread and butter, which was what my family think of me is what matters more than anything. And that allowed me to become thick-skinned. That allowed me to be able to go, okay, if you don't think that's fine, but I'm going to show you.
This really helps. You just breaking this down really helps, because us as grown-ups, we get so wrapped up in our youth playing football that we forget that they're just young people join the game, developing, and we can't slay them and be so hard on them like that. Because I used to watch my boys play on Sundays, and I just used to get wrapped up.
You're emotionally invested. That's what you're emotionally invested.
Get wrapped up in the game, and then I remember one time I must have said one kid was doing a free kick, and I must have said, no, don't let him take it, someone else take it. And it was like, obviously it's going to upset the parents. They're on the sidelines as well. And,
but you don't business because you're emotionally involved.
But I was glad that I was at a time in my life where I'm grown up enough to look at myself and say, nah, that's not nice. So I'd really apologize to the parents, and I meant it. Like, that weren't nice. I didn't feel good about that when I thought about it, but I realized I just got caught up in the moment. So I just wanted to highlight that, to say that, we mess up like that. Parents saying things, I don't know if they realized what they were saying, how it impacted you, But it does impact the children, so go easy on them when they're out there playing their footy, man.
I think it's just a emotional support, man.
Yeah.
People, especially within our community, the emotional side is frowned upon.
Yeah.
Why are you getting emotional for? But kids need that.
Yeah, bro.
Because how can you play a sport that you're emotionally invested in, but there's no emotional...
Yeah.
There's no emotion, there's no get out when it comes to your emotions.
Yeah.
Or seeing someone show you the way to allow that emotion to come out.
See, because you lead the pitch, but you don't lead the game. You don't lead them emotions.
When I lost games, I cried.
Thank you. My boy used to go in the car and he was dejected for the day. So you're talking about support, and that's what we had to give him at home and have chats with him. And you're saying that's what was happening with you at home.
100%. Like, Anton, what are you crying for? My dad, what are you crying for? Yeah, but we lost. Yeah, but you got next week to put it right. I'm challenging you. He wouldn't say I'm challenging you, but I understand it now as an adult. He would be challenging me in his own way to put it right next week. Just like he would say to me, you wasn't the best today.
Yeah.
But I thought I did play well. That's him challenging me to be better than what I can be.
Yeah. So they're saying this isn't the end, Anton. So don't look at it like it's the end.
Exactly.
And don't stay in that frame of mind like, this is it, I'm going to stay down.
Don't rest on your laurels, so to speak, when it comes to success. And don't get down on the base of something that you can change. Because it's in your own hands to change it.
Beautiful.
Nobody else's.
Beautiful.
And being a dad now, like, me and Rue have this conversation a lot about our children. We've grown up different.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, very different.
We've grown up very different.
Yeah.
And listen, this is why you work hard, because you want your children to have what you didn't have. You know, this is what you work hard for.
It's funny, you know, can I bring up something, yeah? Because I've thought about that. And our generation really wanted that for our children. And we have made it easier. And sometimes I think, has that been better? Has that worked out better? It's just a thought. I've just thought, has that worked out better for him or not so good? Because sometimes I think they don't have that backbone. Do you think this sometimes?
Yeah, this is what me and Rio speak about.
Where's that backbone? Where's that strength to come back?
Where's the hunger?
Yeah.
It's the hunger more than anything. And I think, so I use football as a tool. Like, if my son wants to play football, it's up to him. If you don't want to be a footballer, don't bother me.
Yeah.
Or whatever you want to do, you do it to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
And I will support you. You're not going to muck about and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to go from one place to another. And no, find something that you want to do and do it to the best of your ability. But I use football now, because he's into football, as a tool in teaching him about work ethic. He's naturally a good footballer. He's naturally good.
I hear you.
So I always say to him,
passed down in the DNA.
You see, when I watch him play, I don't comment about him technically, because he's good. Naturally, he's good. But I always say to him, if I don't see you working hard, that's what I don't want to see. I know you can score a goal. I know you can do a cross. I know you can see a pass.
That's it.
But if I don't see you grafting, that's a problem.
Wow.
I would rather you graft and not score a goal.
And imagine that.
But if you graft, you're going to score a goal, because it's going to happen.
Yeah.
The likelihood of it, you might not get a goal if you don't graft.
That word graft, bruv.
I use football as a tool to try and implement...
Build that work ethic.
A work ethic.
So regardless of the lifestyle that you might have and the privileges that you might have based on the work that you've done for your children, that doesn't mean that you get gifted an attitude of privilege. You have to have an attitude of hard work.
And you know why I've got that with him? Is because, like me, he's probably going to get opportunities because of his name.
Yeah.
Like, I got opportunities more than others because I was Rio's brother. But I knew I had to be ready to take that opportunity with two hands.
Yeah. And you wanted to earn it, and not feel like it was just because of my
brother. And this is what I say to people. People say, when you hear people go, you only made it because of Rio. I got an opportunity, probably, because I was Rio's brother.
Yeah, but you had to fulfill
but
it.
Rio didn't walk on a picture with me. Once I was across that white line, I was on my own. I had to perform. But the difference is, with me and other people that got opportunities, I had 5 minutes. They had 90 and I had 5 minutes. If I didn't show people that I had a liking into Rio, I was rubbish. And that was I had 5 minutes.
Wow.
Whereas they had 90 minutes to go, okay, he's decent, because they had no one to compare him to. But me, they had someone to compare me to.
Yeah.
And it was...
That's a weight on your shoulders.
It's crazy. Bro. I'm being compared to I play the same position as him. I'm being compared to the best.
How did that affect your game?
I don't think it ever
in
really
periods, because there must have been times in your life where it affected you, and then other times where you've kind of gotten over that and you just do Anton.
Do you know when it affected me? When I became Anton and not Rio Ferdinand's brother. That's when it affected me.
Wow, interesting.
Because in terms of like when we first went into the Premier League and stuff, I was playing some of the best football. I was like playing really good football personally for West Ham. Then I was still Rio's brother. I was Rio's brother when we was in the Championship. I was Rio's brother for the majority of that first season in the Premier League. And all of a sudden, I became Anton Ferdinand. Got to the FA Cup final, I became Anton Ferdinand and not Rio's brother. And that achievement was so big that I relaxed. I've done it. I've achieved the biggest thing. Like to me, to other people listening, it's not a big thing.
Yeah.
But when you compare to the best and you've always been, that's Rio's brother, that's Rio's brother. And then all of a sudden they go, that's Anton Ferdinand.
Nice, bro.
It's like, wow. And I think I just relaxed. And from then on, that season after, I became inconsistent.
So you really loved your brother. And did that interfere with the relationship at any point in your relationship with him?
No. That's one thing about Rio. For how competitive he is, he would never have wanted me to be better than him because he's competitive and he's got his own personal pride.
Got you.
But he wanted me to have as good a career as he had. He wanted, and I felt that.
And you felt that, and
I
you
felt
knew
that. That's why, when you hear me speak about Rio, I speak about Rio like this. It's consistent. There's no ifs and buts with Rio, with me as his brother.
Yeah.
Because he wanted me to have as good a career as he had.
No
and you don't always get that.
Beautiful. Did you get tips from him? Was it good having a brother that was ahead of you, because he could give you the heads up about stuff. He could give you the heads up about people. He could show you how the man lives on the pitch and watch this guy and
100%. When we played, the only time we didn't speak is when we played against each other. For that week, we never spoke.
For real.
But if I was playing against anyone else, so the first time I played against Thierry Henry, how do you deal with him, man? What should I do?
Yeah.
That's the good thing about us. That's the good thing about having a brother who's ahead of you and playing.
Can you remember what he said at any time about giving you a little heads up?
Playing against Kevin Davis.
Okay.
Don't always try, or playing against Didier Drogba, don't always try to win the first ball.
Oh.
Let him have the first touch at times. If you think you can go and win it, win it. Be aggressive, yes. But if you try to get into a tussle with him, he's going to beat you. You know?
Yeah. And that helped you, those things helped.
Yakubu, the same thing. He said to me, listen, Anton, what Yakubu does, he shows you, as a defender, he will show you the ball. So he will show you the passing lines, that someone's going to pass it to him. Okay. But the minute you go to go and get the ball, he will come across you and bounce you off. And then all of a sudden you're going that way and he's turning that way. But sometimes I had to learn, he would give that to me,
Yeah.
and then it would happen in the game. I go, right, that Rio
Yeah,
told me
yeah,
that.
he told
Sort
you.
yourself out. What are you doing?
Yeah, yeah,
And it wouldn't
good.
happen again, or sometimes it did.
Yeah.
You know. But they were the good things about having
Nice.
Rio as a brother.
That's right.
In terms of the positive side of football. But it's again,
How did your career go? Talk to me about your career, because there must have been so much excitement getting your first deal signed, you know, playing with great players. Tell me about that, man. The journey of your career, Anton's career.
my career was, so I started off in the youth team. We had 4 or 5 centre backs, but I was the only one who could play more than one position.
Yeah.
So for the first 2 months, I played in centre midfield for the youth team at West Ham.
Okay.
2 played for the under 17, because under 17s, under 19s at the time. 2 played for the under 17s, and 2 played for the under 19s. And the under 19s pushed up to the reserves. That's how West Ham done it.
I hear you.
And one of the centre backs at under 17 level got injured, and I played against Watford one of the games. Ashley Young was playing. I remember the game.
How old are you here? About 17 here, yeah?
I'm 16
16
at
yeah?
the time.
Okay.
Just left school, 16. And that game I played centre back, I just absolutely breezed it, because that was my natural position.
I hear you.
And Peter Braybrook, who was my coach at the time, God rest his soul, he's not here with us no more.
Yeah.
He said to Tony Carr, he said, I don't care what you think, Anton's got to go and play. He's got to play centre back in your under 19s team. Under 17s, I played 2 games at centre back, and he said it's too easy for him. We've got to test him. He's got to go up. And then Tony Carr dropped one of the centre backs down and put me up.
I hear you.
And I just grabbed it with 2 hands, man. I was like, this is what I should be playing here.
Nice.
I think 2 or 3 of them had pro contracts already, and I didn't. And then it was like, okay, I've done that. What's next? The next is reserves. And I remember Glenn Roeder was the manager, the West Ham manager, first team manager at the time.
Okay.
And we were playing Everton at home at Chadwell Heath, and
First team match?
no,
Okay.
reserve team. I mean, not reserve, under 19s game.
Okay.
And Glenn Roeder said to me, I think about a week later, I trained with the first team
I see.
after that. And he went, do you know why you're here, Anton? And I went, no. He went, first impressions. And he went, Anton, in football, your first impression is probably the most important impression you'll have on somebody. And you're here based on the first impression I had on you. And I said, so what was that then? He went, composure. He went, do you know what you've done? That made me go, I need to see this boy close up. It was windy that day. The ball, it was a corner. Someone shot. It come out, someone shot. The keeper, it hit the bar or something, or it hit the keeper, but it might hit the bar. And it come out, and it stayed in the air, and it was windy. And I was on the edge of the box as it come out, so it must have hit the bar to get that far. And I jumped in the air, like normally a defender would jump and head the ball clear. I jumped and shouted keepers, and I just let it hit my back of my head, and it rolled back to the keeper, and the keeper picked it up. And that was the first thing that he'd ever seen me do as a footballer.
Wow. And
he was like, he went to Tony Carr and who's that boy? So that's Anton Ferdinand. And next week I was training with the first team.
Dope.
And then the pressure that I felt going and training with the first team was, because a lot of them had played with Rio. Joe Cole, Michael Carrick, Paolo Di Canio,
Big
Trevor
boys.
Sinclair, David James.
Big boys.
Like they'd all played with Rio.
Yeah.
Jermaine Defoe. They was expecting Rio. That's how I felt.
That's what was going on in your head, yeah?
Yeah. Joe Cole, man, like I said this before, West Ham produce good people as well as good footballers. And it's in your DNA as a West Ham youngster, an academy graduate, it's in your DNA that when young players come through, you help them. It's just in your DNA. Every young player that's come through at West Ham has done the same. They look for the next one that's coming. Okay, who is it? Okay, it's him. Okay, cool. Let me look after him. And it was like, he just said to me, just relax, man. Like, just enjoy it. But that first impression stuff stuck in my head too. And I remember Frederick Canute, I was playing against Frederick Canute and Jermaine Defoe in the training session.
Yeah.
And I got the ball and I was facing my own goal and they were both shutting me down. I'd done a skill and come through the middle of them. And once I'd done that, I was like, okay, they've seen Rio.
Yeah.
And I feel confident now.
Nice.
And I just never looked back from it.
Oh, really, bro?
You know, the fact that I'd done, that's what Rio was known for at West Ham. Driving with the ball out from the back, doing a skill. It's like, okay, they've seen Rio in me, but I'm confident now because I've done that. Boom.
That's it.
Let's go.
Yeah, that was Anton doing
That was
his
Anton
thing.
there. And it was like, okay, cool. So I'd done that, trained well. Next thing I was on the bench for the reserves. Then I'm playing midfield, centre midfield for the reserves. I'm playing right back for the reserves. I played centre back one time for the reserves. Not one time, but my first time playing centre back for the reserves was against Dele Adebola. Right? Big, strong guy, man. And he was playing for Coventry at the time. And for 45 minutes, man, he just bullied me, like.
Serious king.
Just bullied me, rolled me, everything. Roger Cross was the manager, the reserve team manager at the time. Anton, don't get too tight. Anton, don't. And he ripped me at half time. Anton, you've been, this is what I've told you. I'm going to say it to you again. You're allowed to do it one more time, you're coming off. Never got rolled again in that game. I learned. Never got rolled again in that game. That was the start of my journey.
What was it for you that switched you on and made you realise, no, I can't keep letting you do it? Was it the fact that he said, here's the consequence for that?
The fear of getting dragged off. The consequence.
Chris.
It gave me the consequences in that this is what's going to happen if you continue to allow it to, if you continue to allow that to happen, this is what's going to happen to you. You're coming off.
Do you know what, brother? It's such a simple concept that is. But look how many of us, young and old, do not look at the consequence, say, I don't like this consequence, I don't want to experience it, so
I'm
here's
gonna do
what.
better.
Thank you.
And it's like, that's what I've done.
That's a great attribute, bro, in that situation.
But what I did do was I didn't just use it for that game.
Yeah, that's it.
It stayed with me. Okay, I've learned that lesson. That can't happen to me. So when I'm playing against someone who's stronger than me,
Wow.
what are you getting into a tussle for? I played against, and then as I got older, I got into the first team.
So it's like accepting, I know you're stronger. That means there's another way to skin the cat. There's another way to do this.
But that's football intelligence.
But our egos are like, oh,
I wanna
I'm
fight.
going to show how strong I am then.
And that's why a lot of kids today struggle when they first go into a first team.
I hear you.
Or they have to go on loan. I never went on loan. I went straight into the first team.
Okay.
Reserve team football was my loan.
Okay.
Because I was learning these priceless lessons.
Why you was in the reserves.
Whilst I was in the reserves.
Excellent.
Whereas now, under 23s football, they're playing against their mates. They play against people that they've played against since they were 9 years old.
So Rio, if you had a different attitude, it might not have gone that way. You could have had one where it was we should be working like this. Things should be working like that. And when it doesn't, you get more pissed off. But you didn't. You thought, let me learn from this so I don't have to stay here, and it allowed you to move forward in a different way.
Yeah.
Everything's attitude then.
I had a goal. I had a goal in my mind, right, to be a professional footballer. And I wouldn't let anything get in the way of it. And we talk about our mentor to kids, to young players now.
Yeah.
My first question is, do you like the thought of being a footballer, or do you want to be a footballer? That's my first question. And the reason why it is that is because if you like the thought of being a footballer, you'll never be one. But if you want to be a footballer, any sacrifice that you need to make will come easy.
Yeah.
If you like the thought of one, the sacrifice ain't gonna come easy. And my sacrifice, when I left school, people that I went to school with, a lot of them I didn't speak to for 5 years, you know. I didn't speak to them for 5 years. And the reason being is because when I was in school and my friends were going to Blue Water or they were going to Lewisham or they were loitering places, I wasn't allowed to do that. And at the time I used to cuss, Mum, why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? Like, you're out of order, Mum. But she'd say, what's there for you? There's nothing there for you. Something happens, you're guilty by association. People are coming for you, they're coming for you. One thing happens to one of you, you're tarnished with the same brush.
Beautiful lessons.
So that's why you're not going there. And furthermore, how are you getting there? You ain't got no money, how are you getting? I'm not paying for you to go there, how are you getting there?
Beautiful lessons.
You know, and I used to cuss.
Yeah.
I used to cuss.
Because you don't get it
My mum don't
yet.
like me, like this, that,
Aye.
And it was
Think you're
like,
spoiling your fun, innit?
yeah.
Hindering you from
Hindering
enjoying
my fun,
life.
yeah.
Not saving you from what the consequences of what life could throw at you.
Exactly. Because as kids, you think you know it all.
Yeah,
As kids, you don't go on the street and go and stand with your brethren and one of your brethren or someone that knows your brethren. It might never be your group, but someone that knows one of your friends does something stupid. It's a friend of a friend, but if you're around that vicinity, you're guilty by association.
That's right.
You're in trouble too.
That's right.
When the police come, they're looking at all of you
Everyone.
the same way.
Yeah.
Whether they're racial profiling you or whatever, they're looking at you the same way.
That's right, bro.
I said it on my documentary. I remember walking down the street and walking with my friends, and my group of friends was diverse. It weren't all black. You know, there's white guys in my group and
That's
that.
right.
And the police officers spoke to the black boys. They didn't speak to the white boys. They saw the end of a spliff on the floor, kicked it. Which one of this is yours? Who's been smoking a spliff? Which one? It's got to be one of yours. And I'm like, why's it got to be one of ours?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
they're conditioned.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I was like, my mum would be like, "No, you're not going. You're not doing this."
Yeah, good on mum.
And I didn't understand at the time why, and it was like you say, trying to spoil my fun and stuff like that.
So did that help to break that bond with those people, because it couldn't be built because you weren't able to be out with them all the time, so it allowed you to be more focused on football?
No, I was that much of a big personality.
Yeah.
Even when I weren't there, my personality in school made up for me not being there.
That's right.
Because I was a joker.
Yeah,
I was,
very much the same.
you know what I mean? So it was like they were missing out and I wasn't, because I was the life of the party.
Yeah, I got you.
You know? But when I left school, all the time I'm getting paid YTS money. I think it was like 80, 90 pound a week.
Okay.
Big money for a 16-year-old.
Trust me, bruv.
Right? Then I turned 17, got a car, got my own money. I've just signed back to sign a pro.
At 17?
At 17, that I've worked for. Others have had it before me. They got it with their YTS. I never got it. I was probably last in the pecking order.
Okay.
Out of the centre backs, but I forced my way to the front. Because I had a goal to be a footballer and nothing weren't getting in the way of it. Whether that be, I was out on the training pitch and had to drag me in because I was working on my left foot, I was working on my heading, I was working on things that I weren't good at. But now I had money, now I had money to go to Blue Water. I had money to go to Lewisham.
Yeah.
But I also had a car,
And you had a car
to go
to
there
get
and
there.
get back. So
Now
the excuses
you're the
for
man.
now. So the excuses that not the excuse, but the reasons that my mum had for me for me not going there were no longer there
no longer
because I could get
valid.
there myself.
That's it.
I didn't have to ask my mum for nothing. I could
That's
go and
it.
do it myself.
Okay, so what now, Anton?
So the sacrifice was, I can't chat to you lot whilst I'm doing this now because I know me. I've missed out on it from the age of 13 to 16. And now I can do it. I will go and do it. Because naturally as a kid, you're going to go and do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you've missed out on so much.
Yeah.
So to take myself out of that temptation, I just cut them off. I didn't speak to them.
And that was a big sacrifice
That was my
you
sacrifice.
made.
I'm a social, I like to socialise.
Yeah, bro.
You know?
That's
and
so deep, man.
I cut them off.
Yeah, so it's like, what sacrifice are we willing to make that bring us pleasure, that we cut away from ourselves that pleasure so we can get to our goals.
Yep. But then I made it.
Take me through that, man, because it's exciting. The process of what you first seeded in your mind becomes reality, and it was only something in your mind. That is powerful. So take me through the process. Like, what was it like getting signed the first time and seeing that you're gonna get paid this amount of money?
Do you know what? Before I go there, so when I made it, I called up my friends that I went to school with.
Yeah.
And I explained.
Yeah. What is making it to you? How do you define that for me? At the time where you was, when you say, when I made it, define that. What did that look like to you?
A full season of playing. Not made my debut, a full season of playing football. That's when
That's proper. That's when you know to you that I made it.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
But I didn't feel like a West Ham player until I achieved promotion into the Premier League. When I achieved that, I felt like, before I didn't feel like I was a West Ham fan, but I didn't feel like a West Ham player.
Really?
Until I had achieved something.
Wow. And that was a great achievement.
And
to be part of a team that gets into the Premiership.
100%. And
what year was that?
2005.
Awesome.
But then, like I was saying about my group of friends, I rang them all, spoke to them, said, this is why I've done it.
Yeah.
The ones who understood, they're still my brethren today.
So basically, did you go through that age-old Anton thinks he's something now and he's changed and you go through that?
Of course, yeah. But the ones who were like that, I don't speak to, I've never spoken to them again.
Okay.
But the ones who understood why, they're my brethren today. We're in a WhatsApp group, we chat. They're my friends.
Nice.
The people I grew up with.
Yeah, they get it.
Even the people on my estate. The ones on my estate, they're the ones who understood. Some of them I played for West Ham with. One of them I played for West Ham with. He didn't make it, I did. But that's my group. They're the ones who keep me
grounded.
Me.
Nice.
You know, and it's like, they're the ones who understood why I didn't speak to them for a certain amount of time. You know, and we see some talents today, man, that have got so much ability, but their circle of friends don't allow them to excel.
Bro.
When you do grow up on the estate, you want to take everyone with you. And you feel obliged to take everyone with you.
Is it possible, Anton?
No, it's not possible.
Thank you, my brother.
It's not possible to take everyone with you. But for you to excel and for you to show people the way, your group of friends need to understand their role in that. So when we're talking about if you're ever involved in fights or whatever, because that happens on estates, or when you're out and something happens, are your group of friends the ones who say, you know what, you see you've got a path, so you go, let us deal with the matter, you go.
Now you know that's the friends that actually got love for you.
Exactly.
That's the ones that can call you fam and cuz.
Exactly. So a lot of my friends have maybe been places that I never would have gone to come watch me play football.
That's it.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, bro.
How many people from the estate, when I was younger, when you was younger, got to travel to Manchester to go Old Trafford?
So because of your hard work, you've allowed your friends to
And
get
it's
that
only a little
experience
thing.
things.
People look at it and go, oh, it's only Old Trafford, it's in London, it's in England, it's only Old Trafford. But getting up there and getting a ticket, it's a lot of money.
Trust me.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
bro.
then there's other things. Going away, doing this, doing that, going into a nightclub.
Yeah.
Going from being that person who because when you're a footballer you're in a bubble.
That's right.
You don't see racism because racism don't come your way unless something happens.
Yeah.
Like it happened with me.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll go
Like an
into
incident.
that.
An incident. I have to call it an incident.
Yeah.
Because I've got to call it an incident
Yeah.
for legal
No
reasons.
doubt.
But you're in that bubble. All of a sudden, when you're famous, when you walk in the shop, the security guard don't follow you.
There you go. Where before it was
Whereas
different.
before, they follow you.
There you go.
Do you know what I mean? But whoever's with me don't get followed either. When they
That's
used to
right.
be, but then when they're not with me, they get
Yeah,
followed.
they get followed.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when they're with me, they're treated as an equal. Do you know what I mean?
bro.
I'm not saying like it sounds like egotistical, like well, they got that because of me.
No, just keep
they
it
got
real.
that. They got that because of them. Because they allowed me to flourish. They allowed me to get to where I
played their
need.
part.
They played their part.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
They played
man.
their part, and they still play their part today.
So I read a story about a young guy that had the whole world at his feet. 20 odd years old, model, and what does he go and do? He gets advice from his man them, who aren't the right friends, but claim that they're his friends, that's his boys from back in the day. And he's got an issue with someone. So what advice do they tell him? Not that you're a model, bro. You need to think about this, maybe leave it alone. But go and make sure you got your Bora, bruv. Go down there and sort it out. And this guy follows the advice. Now he's doing 25, bruv. So your friends, the people around you, the advice they're giving you, where they're guiding you to, if it's not in a good place, then they can't be good friends. That's why we have to show these youths, these men that are telling you to hold this, take a free bills, hold this for me, do this, drop this off. Them man got no love for you.
Of course.
Because they're not giving you advice that they would love their children to have, and that's not the kind of love and advice you give to people you care about. That's when you're using someone. You lead them down the wrong road. You don't care what happens to them. So all these guys on the road that are thinking, the olders are thinking I'm one of the man them, and they're not. They don't care about you. They don't care what happens to you, and it's your parents that you want to look to, even though they might not even be that good parents, but they definitely love you more than these man them out of the road.
Of course. And a lot of what you're saying in terms of myself, because I can only speak for myself,
Yeah.
I feared my mum and dad more than anyone who asked me to hold anything or do anything. I feared my mum and my dad more than them.
Big.
But I feared letting them down more than anything. It weren't the consequences of a slap or a beating.
Yeah, it's not
I
that.
feared letting them down. I feared the look of
Disappointment. Yeah, bro.
I didn't want to see that from my mum and dad. And that's what my drive was, to become a footballer. I saw my mum's face when Rio gave her the keys to her house.
Wow.
I wanted to see that face because of something that I'd done.
That's excellent.
Same with my dad.
Yeah.
I wanted to see his face because of something that I'd done.
Awesome.
I was just lucky enough to see that happen through what Rio done. But I was obsessed with seeing it because I'd done something.
Yeah.
And that's why nothing weren't getting in the way.
Awesome.
Because I value my mum and dad in terms of the sacrifice that they done for me and my big brother to get where we got to.
So it was important to see your mum and dad as the role models.
100%.
Not all these other people that are being sold to you on screen through, not to say that you didn't look up to anybody else,
Of course.
but it was your parents that you looked at like, I want to do something for them.
100%.
That meant that you had to be able to focus and have an aim to work towards so they could be proud of what you were doing.
But I would take that in all different ways. Gavin Rose, who I spoke about, who's my brother's friend, he's Dulwich Hamlet manager.
Yeah.
Whenever I played and he come to a game, that's the most nervous I was ever.
Really?
Whenever Gavin Rose come to watch a football match of mine, I was more nervous than
How did you see Gavin?
That just tells you how high
That's what
he
I'm
is.
saying.
That just tells you how high he is.
Yeah.
His opinion on me as a footballer, and most importantly as a person, made me feel nervous to make sure I didn't mess up in front of him.
Do you remember when being a person became just as important as being a footballer? Because we kind of don't realise that they're different. Because you finished football, that don't mean you're Anton Ferdinand with great value. So do you remember when you kind of was able to understand that and know, I'm Anton Ferdinand, I was just playing football here, but now whatever I'm doing, I'm still become this awesome person that I want to become?
I was brought up to be like that. I was conditioned as a kid to be like that. As I said, manners come for free.
Big.
You know, respecting your elders comes for free. It's a standard procedure.
Wow.
But when you're a footballer and you're in that bubble, you do feel untouchable.
Yeah.
Anyone who says anything different, they're lying. You feel untouchable.
Yeah.
You don't face that, unless it's like we're seeing now today, the racial abuse and stuff. But when you're walking the street or you're going into a shop, there's no racial profiling when you go into a shop. Some people might get, yes. You know? An example, I used to get stopped by the police, regular. Sometimes I get stopped by the police for a signature. Do you know what I mean? You become like, so it's like...
Things are different, you get talked to differently, you get dealt with differently.
100%.
Yeah, experience it, bro.
It happens.
Experience it. I used to go into shops and they recognise me from being in boxing and they would just say, no, it's cool. And I'd think to myself, wait, when I was broke, that's what I needed you to say, it's cool. Now I've got money, I can pay for it and I want to pay for it. And you're telling me, no, man, keep your money, it's all right.
Exactly, and it's like, I could go to the front of a nightclub queue with 10 man and get in, no problem.
That's it.
Someone else goes to the front of a queue with 10 man.
Yeah, you ain't getting in, bruv.
Even if they got money.
Exactly.
They're not getting in. Too many man.
Yeah.
But when you're in the public eye, who you coming with? Oh, there's 10 of us. Okay, yeah, no problem.
Do you think it helps treating people just like everybody else gets treated, and that would help the bubble?
That's never going to happen. That is never going to happen.
Is that human nature?
It's never going to happen.
It's almost like people want to be seen to have done something for you because you're a name.
Yeah, but then you look at this. You look at the. It's just not the way, because we're social media driven. The world's social media driven. It's never ever going to be like that. So do you know what I mean? When you hear people, you go into a school now, to a primary school, and you go to a little kid, oh, what do you want to be when you're older? I want to be an influencer.
Yeah, it's different.
So you're looked upon, an influencer is looked upon as someone...
As someone that's got some great talent.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some of them do have.
Yeah.
But because we're in that mode now of being a social media driven society, if you got a blue tick on social media,
they're looked at as something.
You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, how do you get away from that? And I don't see it ever changing.
Did you get to experience life before that came in?
Yeah.
So you got to experience how it was like.
Twitter only started to really come into fruition and come to the fore, really.
Yeah.
When I went to QPR.
Okay.
That's when it came to the fore, really.
Yeah, let's talk about that, man, because, you know, it's called the Kai and Prince Foundation Stadium.
Yeah, man.
That's mad, did it, bro?
Listen, the fact that a club can acknowledge something like that, and for your family to continue your son's legacy, that just says it all for me, man. And the fact that the club's done that, they did deserve admiration for that, personally, because Loftus Road is famous.
Yes.
It's a famous name, Loftus Road.
Loftus Road, bruv.
So to change that.
Yeah. It goes way back. Big names, way back.
Exactly. And we're talking about, your son didn't establish himself as a first team player.
First team player, yeah.
He was going to,
Yes.
but he hadn't.
That's right.
But you see what his legacy is.
Wow.
His legacy is a reminder to youngsters. If you're not careful, if your circle ain't where it should be, something like that could happen.
But let me share with you, do you know the story about this?
I don't know all of it.
Let me share with you about this, yeah? So imagine you've got this son and he's just like you. He's not a perfect boy, but he's not bad. He's cheeky chappy.
Yeah.
The life and fun of the party. Everyone loves him. And loads of girls check for him. He's doing a man them. But as he's growing up from this little child into a young man, he's got such an awesome reputation of being the good guy, breaking up fights when it kicks off on the pitch, being the awesome player. Everyone's like, nah, man, we get Kyle on my team. I don't want to be playing against him.
Yeah.
Even Emmanuel, one of his brothers, was sharing with me, said, bro, your son against even up to 19, 20-year-olds was 14, 15.
Yeah.
They was like, who's this brother, man? He said everyone knew about this guy, like, after they played him, and he was just an awesome character.
One thing, sorry to cut you, one thing for sure, when I come to QPR, your son gets spoke about. He gets spoke about.
Bruv, yeah.
When you come to that football club and you're not go to sign at the ground, but when you're day to day in the training ground, your son gets spoken about.
That's massive. That's massive.
In that light.
Yeah. Because it blew me away, bruv. When the coach talked about Kyan, the influence he had on the pitch, and even when I spoke to his friend, he said, listen, you don't understand. Kyan always changed the game. Everyone knew when he came on the pitch, it was going down. Like, if you were behind, that was your chance of coming back. If the team morale was down, he would come on the team and lift it up. So, he was a special guy, but when we're talking about becoming, it was his character. Him as an individual, Anton. For me, that's what stood out.
Yeah.
And being such a nice guy, I remember speaking to him one time and saying, son, like, I know you're being kind, because a neighbor popped round and said, Kyan, there's this guy picking on me. And I watched my son. And I thought, I wonder if he's going to, like, try and be, like, the hero. And say, yeah, I'll sort it out for you. And all Kyan says, don't worry. Don't be scared, don't be stressed. It'll be all right. And that's all he said. So I was thinking, that was cool, because the guy seemed to respond to that like, oh, all right. But I didn't know that Kyan, all he wanted to do was keep him company so he wouldn't be scared. He weren't playing that bad, like, I'm going to protect you. Just he went with him at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. What kid does that?
Yeah.
He goes with this guy, it's not my son's paper round, it's his paper round. But my son gets up and goes with him just so he could enjoy doing his paper and he's got company. Yeah. Because these other grown men were scaring him. Yeah, they were travellers and that. He was having some experience with them and he was really scared about how they was dealing with him. So my son went. And I remember saying to my son, like, these people are carrying knives now, son. So I know that you're nice and you want to break up fights. And I said, but be careful, because someone might pull out a knife. Imagine that was 2 weeks beforehand. How did he die, Anton? The fight's breaking out. Kyan goes up and says, bro, like, break it up, man, break it up. He tries to split them up peaceably. The guy pulls out a knife. Kyan backs up and says, what are you doing with that, man? Put that away. So I heard that he goes to turn and walk away and the guy jumps him, bruv. One stab, man. One stab, but you could see all the marks on my boy's arm, bruv. Yeah, it's bruv, it's a horrible experience to have in you that you got to live with. But my thing for my son was, I have to carry on how you lived. And like your parents, that's how we brought up Kyan to be, Anton. To be a guy that's got respect, love for people, a good guy, but he just loves football, King. And I showed him that, do you know that everything you go to do, you're going to be great at it. Just put 100% in and enjoy your football. Because you said, Dad, I'm gonna buy you a house. I said, son, I don't care about them things. I just want to see you playing ball at the best level that you can play at. So I owe my boy, because I know who he was and I know who he was gonna become. So me doing this, bro, I'm just doing what I believe any parent's gonna do for their youth. I can't be angry and wanna kill the guy now. I wanted to at first, my boys wanted to, but I can't allow that to happen, and I can't do it because that will go against what I taught my son. I taught my son not to, you don't have the authority to go and take people's lives, hurt people, beat people and do them things. You gotta give love in life.
Of course.
So now it was like, that was my greatest test, Anton. The fact that what I taught him is now staring at me in the face and saying, well, let me see you live like that, bro. Let me see if you can walk the walk, because you told your son that. So my journey's always been about, I'm showing you that I was serious, and everything I taught you how to live, I'm living it. And look what's happened.
And your other children are benefiting from it.
Other youths are benefiting, lives are being changed.
Of course.
We get all the feedback, we see it. Kyan's name has made such a huge impact, brother. All over the world now, because
that's beautiful
obviously
to hear,
working
man.
with EA Sports and that now.
That's beautiful to hear, man. Seriously.
Yeah.
And I've not been through what you've been through, but I've been through.
But you've been
loss.
through.
I've
Share some of your
loss.
hurts, bro, because you know there's been things in everyone's life that's hurt them and has made them shift the course of their life. Share some of the deep things that's hurt you.
Obviously, supporting Rio through the loss of his wife
Yeah, that's massive.
was hard to
See your brother.
see, not just your brother, but your hero go through something so traumatic. And not just him, my niece and nephews,
Wow.
you know?
Yeah.
The easy part of it was my mum was still here, and she was the matriarch, she was the glue. She was the strength,
Mumsies.
you know? And then 2 years later, she goes.
Wow. Mumsies.
And
What year, bro?
2017, yeah?
Yeah, bro. I know that pain, so
So-
just breathe that out.
It's like people that know me, football. And as you watch the documentary, people understand and know that I didn't realise the trauma that incident had on me,
That's right.
because I just wanted to play football, and football took care of anything that I was dealing with off the pitch. It took care of it on the pitch for that 90 minutes or for that 2 hours I was training. I thought about football. So my mind was off of anything that was happening off the pitch. That was always my get out. And it was still my get out when Rio's wife passed away. But then when Mum died, that wasn't my get out.
Wow.
Like, I'm talking like I went from someone who football was everything. I cared about how I played. I cared about what people thought in terms of how I played. I cared about the result. If we didn't win, my weekend sometimes was finished. All of a sudden, I couldn't get away from the pain. I couldn't get away from the thought of things, of like, why am I mum here? Why is she not here? I couldn't get away from it. And I panicked. And I honestly panicked because football was no longer my get out. And because it always has been, for anything that I've endured in my life,
Yeah.
I didn't know how to deal with it.
Yeah, boy.
To the point where I just didn't care about football. I didn't care about the result. Fans at Southend were booing me because I was playing that bad. Whereas the year before, I was flipping, wow, Anton's here, Anton's playing unbelievable, Anton this, Anton that. Captain Anton to all of a sudden, right, Anton's rubbish. But they knew what I was going through because it was public, because Rio. It was public that we'd lost our mum. I just couldn't deal with it. I couldn't deal with it, man. Like, I was secretly drinking. I was going to training. I was drinking the night before, games.
Something you hadn't been doing.
That's something I've never done. It's something that's never been a part of me. Yeah. But because I couldn't deal with football not being my out, I just panicked. I absolutely panicked to the point where I remember Simon Cox took me for a walk around the training ground. And he just said to me, Anton, what can we do to get you back to normal? And I was like, I am normal. He was like, no, you're not. And he was like, what can we do? And I went, I don't know. Like, even we played against Rotherham away, the night before the game, we was in there, and I think we lost 4 or 5. We lost 5-0, and 4 out of 5 goals were my fault.
Wow.
I was atrocious on the day, like terrible on the day. And the night before, we sat down for dinner. Yeah. For our evening meal, I had salmon. I had what else? I had like vegetables, and I had a bit of lasagna. And I'd finished it, and I was sitting there chatting, and then all of a sudden, my food just started coming up. I was being sick. Wow. No warning, I felt fine. Just started being sick. Went back to my room, listened to my mum's tunes, some old ragga. That was comforting me, because I was ill. I was on my own, I was ill. Yeah. And that was comforting me. Listened to tunes all night, hardly slept. But I knew how important I was to the team. And it was like, no, if I don't play, the team ain't the same, I've got to play. So Phil Brown was asking me, you okay? You've been sick, you okay to play? And I was like, yeah, I'm cool, I'm playing, I'm cool. I'm all right, I'm playing. I remember just, because I was captain, went up, done the handshake, done the toss and everything. Just before the game kicked off, just crying. Wow. Crying. But it was like, what, like uncontrollable, like, what am I doing? Like, but I couldn't control the emotion. Yeah. But I'd listened to my mum's tunes all the way from that night, all the way to the game.
Hadn't you what was your grieving like? Because you're telling the mandem that you're all right, and there's nothing you can do. Have you really given yourself time to grieve?
Yeah, listen, I've got a good support network. My wife, my kids, my friends. I've got a good support network. And it wasn't until I started going counselling. When I started to go counselling, I realised what the problem was.
Brilliant.
And this is how mad it was, right? And this is how deep it is, and how deep it was for me, personally. I went counselling, so it's an hour session. The woman goes to me, Anton, I want you to start from the beginning. You need to start from the beginning, and I want you to tell me the start of your mum's illness to the day that she died. And that story takes me 10 minutes now. It took the full hour. Wow. Because I kept crying. And my mum said, like, she told us it was terminal. So I knew, I was prepared for her to die. She was going to die of cancer. When this says terminal, okay, you can't you can't get rid of it. You just got to try and put it in a box and contain it. And hopefully she's here for 10 years. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it wasn't like that. So, but I was prepared. I knew she was going to die. I knew she was going to die of cancer. I just didn't know when. So the fact that she died from cancer wasn't the problem. It was watching it happen. And that's why I struggled to say the step by step. It was watching that happen, watching someone who's so strong, someone who's the matriarch of the family. And this tells you about the week leading up to her dying, the whole of my estate come to the hospital. The hospital never seen nothing like this. Come to say bye, like come to see her and say bye. Talking close to 1,000 people, you know, come to see my mum to say bye. Yeah. And I just, it was the not being able to deal with the way that it happened, watching her become somebody that I know she didn't want to be seen to be, someone who wasn't in control of what was going on. Yeah. And that's what my problem was. And it took me an hour to get that side of it out in my first session. And I left the place. I got home at about 8:30, 9:15.
Yeah.
I said to my wife, I got to go upstairs. I was sleeping before my head hit the pillow, man. That much come off of me. I slept. The emotional it wore me out so much. I slept from 9 o'clock till the morning. And I don't do that. I don't do that. And that's after that.
What changed?
Football slowly started to come back to being my out after that. But if I wouldn't have had that conversation, if I hadn't gone for counselling, I would never have got to that stage where football became my place of peace.
Yeah, bro.
You know, and
Anton, it's so important, man. I'm just getting this this thread through every individual that we speak to and talk about, and it's always about communicating and opening up about what's going on and the hurts.
And for us, it's hard.
Yeah.
Our community don't do that.
Yeah.
Us as men, full stop.
We don't want to be seen to
don't
get
do
emotional.
That. As a footballer, if you show any emotion, it's a problem. Yeah. You're weak. You're mentally weak. You're showing emotion. You're mentally weak.
Yeah, that's right. And it's not, is it, bro?
No. It's strength, man. Yeah,
because look at that strength of letting it all out, allowed
me to
come
be better.
Back. So what you had was your whole spirit, energy and soul filled up with negative energy. And until that's ciphered out, you cannot allow positive energy to come into you. Like
you see on the documentary, there's a perfect example of us as men don't speak about how we're feeling. The scene with me, Rio, and our dad, you can tell straight away that's the first time we've sat down and spoke, not about the incident, but that's the first time we've spoken about how it made us all feel. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, bro.
How it made us all feel. It was the first time we'd actually, on camera, the first time that we'd spoken about it.
Wow. We don't realise that we're missing these conversations and they need to be had.
The impact's greater not having them conversations than having them.
Thank you.
The impact, and people sit here and go, yeah, but I've heard it on other podcasts, but I'm a man's man, why am I bowling for? Why am I doing this, why am I doing that?
Yeah.
But you're only harming yourself.
Because I want to heal.
You're only harming yourself.
I want to be powerful.
Exactly.
I want to be a real man.
Exactly.
And the only way to do that is to let it out.
Exactly.
Be vulnerable. Open
Exactly.
up.
And you hear another podcast, why is man talking about this and why is he getting emotional and this and that? But every person does things differently.
Yeah, King. I feel
And
you so
got to respect
much.
it. You got to respect it.
Yeah.
And ego's the biggest killer.
Yeah,
Your
bro.
ego's the biggest. Ego is if you got a massive ego.
How much money's in jail, bruv? How much money's in jail because of their big ego, bro?
Exactly.
I've got to do this.
It's ego.
Man's done that.
But that's also your ego tells you don't cry.
Mm-hmm.
Your masculine ego tells you don't cry. If you cry, you're not a man.
Yeah. I think that St. Anne's and all these mental institutions are full of people who didn't allow their communications to be open.
I now understand mental health. I was ignorant towards it. I was naive and I was ignorant towards it. Very, very ignorant.
Yeah.
I now understand it. And I sit here lucky. And I know I'm lucky. And the reason why I know I'm lucky, I've got a good core of friends around me. I've got a good wife and I've got lovely children. Yeah?
Yeah, bro.
A lot of people, you don't know you're depressed until you come out the other side of it.
That's it.
You don't, when you're in it, you don't know. But when you come out of it, that's when you realise, wow, something went right. Was I depressed or what's this or what's that? But I'm lucky. As I say, I'm lucky because I came out the other side of it. Some people don't.
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
So I sit here today lucky.
Yeah, I consider you blessed, King, because I've been through that whole experience of watching my mum die.
Of course, and this is what I'm saying is, you say blessed, but, and I get that.
Yeah.
But when you've read or you've heard or you've seen people not come out the other side of it, it's just that one of Gans, no one ringing up and going, oh, are you all right?
That's it. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, when I was younger, why me? Why this? Why that? Why is this always happening to me? Because I used to think like that as a kid.
I hear you.
I used to think like that. Like when I was in court for fighting, why me, man? Why am I in court? But then when I had to go court for the incident with John Terry, I then realised why I was in court years before.
Thank you very much.
Because it enabled me to be able to go be comfortable in the dock where I was in an environment where the world was watching, not just people in the room, there. But the world was watching.
The world's
it was one of the only
pressure cooker.
One of the only court cases where people were allowed to tweet and give out the news within the courtroom.
Wow.
Yeah, so
it's like the media, they love that circus.
So then it was like, so that's why I was in thingy. That's why I was in court back then. So when things happen to me, I'm always of the something. There's a reason why.
There's a reason, bruv.
There's a reason why.
Yeah. It's down to you to learn and understand.
And this is why now you see. I knew I was like my mum. Always knew it, but I didn't realise how much I was like her until now she's not here.
Right.
Yeah. And my mum, me and Ria always said my mum had time for people. She always had a knack of making time for people. And I'm still trying to get that knack. I'm still trying to get that ability that she had. I'm not there yet, but I'm still trying to get that ability to always have time for people.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, my mum was the same, bro.
But it's like, where was I going with this?
I know, but we were talking about even I'm knocked off for a minute.
Where was I going with that? No, I realised like my I realised like that's where I go. I realised like I was like my mum, but I didn't realise how much. So when I'm talking now, I'm talking about why is this happening to me. Like in my group of friends, I've bar one.
Yeah.
Married with kids.
Wow.
The Others are married with kids.
Okay.
But in terms of I'm married with kids, one of my kids knew my mum. The other one was a year old, so I don't really remember.
Okay.
My mum's gone. The why, is it me? For me now, is I know I was the first one out of my friends at this stage in my life to lose my mum. Because when it happens to my friends, they got someone who's going to help them.
Go on, bro.
They got someone who's going to... I can't educate them because it's not... educating is the wrong word.
Comfort.
Because comfort, but see, grief. There's no wrong way or right way, there's only your way.
Thank you.
But when on that journey of your way, there's going to be things that come, but there's going to be feelings that come, there's going to be emotions that come that are dangerous because you don't understand them. Yeah, you don't understand them, right? And I always say to a few of my friends who've lost parents since my mum's gone.
Yeah.
And since I've been able to be in a place where I can help because I'm dealing with I feel okay with it myself.
Yeah.
And I always say to people, them, listen, there's only your way. There's no right way, there's no wrong way, there's only your way. But please promise me, when you get a feeling that you don't understand, because as human beings, we're used to understand all of our emotions. We're used to feel, because very rare you find an emotion that you don't already know, unless you're a baby and it's new to you. So you're used to knowing a feeling, you're used to knowing an emotion.
Yeah, talk the talk.
But when this happens to you, you will feel an emotion that you don't understand.
Don't know, bro.
And when you don't understand it, that's when it becomes dangerous, because you start searching for things
to explain
it, but not just that, to make you feel better. When you get to that stage, make sure you pick up the phone and call me, because I will try and balance you out, because I've got that experience.
100.
And that's I now know why I was the first one out of my friends.
Got you.
You
put meaning that's enabled you to become more powerful, because if you put a different meaning on it that could have limited you, that meaning has empowered you. And I'm always into putting meanings on things that was going to empower me and take me onto another level. Because I heard a lot of whys. Why did Kyan get killed? Why this and why that? I didn't want to really address that question.
It's a hard question.
I looked at it differently. I looked at it, why not?
Do you know what it is?
Because there's loads of parents that are losing their children. Why didn't I think that I could be one of them that got killed?
But it's like, why is the hardest question to answer?
Yeah.
When I was younger, my dad used to say to me, why are you being naughty? If I knew why, I wouldn't do it.
Thank you.
It's hard for me to answer that question.
Bro, it's not a good question.
If I don't answer the question, I'm going to get a slap.
It's not a good question.
It's
easier to reframe the question and ask, how are you feeling? What are you thinking before you acted like this? That now leads to the whys. Now you could start understanding yourself better instead of just asking the why. Because your brain searches around for stuff that it's not really going to find, and you end up in a really place of negativity, where if you try to understand how you're thinking and what's going on with you at the time, you can understand how you've gotten to this place.
The only way you understand it, though, is if you talk.
Exactly.
It's the only way you understand it. You're never going to understand you're never going to understand an emotion that you've never felt before.
That's correct.
You're only going to understand it if you speak about it and someone's experienced it.
Talk about it.
The power of experience.
Yeah, it's huge.
The power of experience. That's why after the documentary, people can't question my experience. Because it's my experience.
That's correct.
When I talk about the incident, when I talk about what I'm doing now, people can't question me because it's my own experience.
Thank you, brother. That's why I'm empowered to do what I do, when it comes to my son being killed and the work I do with young people. Because of my experience, bruv. I've been homeless at 15. You know, I've been in the grime and the dirt on roads. I've done criminal activity to make money. I've turned from that and become number one in the world as a light heavyweight. I've earned my experience and knowledge. It's like having a master's. Your experience gives you your PhD for life. And that's why I don't have to go through that. They give me a doctorate, honorary doctorate of ministry, because I'm ministering to the souls of people based on all my masters and PhDs from life, because I managed to create and reframe a story and understand how to use the pain as power.
And that's what the documentary has allowed me to do.
Boom.
And I'll tell you why, right? Before I spoke on the documentary, my phone, any type of racism within football, my phone was the first one to go. Anton, can you give us 10 minutes to speak on this news outlet? Can you speak? Can you do an interview? Can you do this? Can you do that? Always declined it. Reason being, I felt like a hypocrite. How can I speak about someone else's situation or incident and I've not spoken about my own? So what I'm saying is don't carry no weight, because I didn't deal with my own situation.
Got you.
Especially to my community, because you know our community be looking at, right, what are you seeing? Why don't you punch him up? Because that's what...
Come on, man, let's go in that.
That's what...
Take us on that journey, bro.
That's what it is.
Take us on that journey through that whole racism with John Terry, Mo.
So, the footage is there for everyone to see.
Yeah.
I didn't hear nothing. I was oblivious whilst the game was going on. I didn't hear nothing.
And what was being said?
Allegedly, I have to say allegedly because he was found not guilty, but allegedly, he saying fucking black cunt. Yeah. Like, I'm not proud of what I was saying to him. And
so it was a usual war of mouths against team playing each other.
Yeah.
That's not nothing new though, is it?
No, it isn't.
What made this different, Anton? What was being said?
What makes it different is if the colour of your skin is used in a manner to try and put you off your game or try and startle you, that's not right. It's not on.
So in football, all players understand that you can give me the needle, but not below the belt.
But society, that's society.
Yeah.
That's society.
Yeah.
You know, if you're a fool, you're just a fool. You're not a black fool. You're not a white fool. You're not a ginger fool.
Yeah.
You're just a fool.
Yeah.
That's how it should be. Society, football pitch, that's how it should be. But again, it's all alleged. He was found not guilty in a court of law. But I'm past all that.
I hear you.
I'm past all that. There's no anger.
Yeah. But at the time, that's not where you was. At the time, you wanted justice.
I didn't know at the time.
How did you get informed and how did it get to court then?
So, it had happened. It was viral on social media before the game had finished. And that night we was going...
Why, did they read his mouth?
Yeah, it was caught on camera. It was caught on camera. And it happened, whatever, all that happened. And then after the game, we had won the game. Obviously, it's a big West London derby.
Massive.
First time I think we had won in something like 15 years at Loftus Road against Chelsea. Big. So it was massive. I was buzzing.
Of course.
You know, and I remember shaking lads' hands and we was going out that night. It was Sean McVitie's birthday party and we was going out that night. And I shook Ashley Cole's hand, and Ashley said, "Oh, you can't speak to the captain like that. You can't speak to JT like that." And I went, "What? I mean, you can't speak to JT like that." And I said, "I know you look at me as Ria's little brother." I said, "I'm a fucking big man, you know, and I'll say what I want. I'm not the first one to say it to him, and I won't be the last." And he went, "Okay, cool, no problem."
What did you tell him?
Huh?
What did you say to him that Ashley was vexed about?
I was saying, like, we come together, and I said, "Oh, you shagged your teammate." He called me a cunt. And I said,
Yeah.
"I'm a cunt." I said, "You're a cunt." I said, "You shagged your teammate's missus, you're a cunt." Which was common knowledge at the time.
Yeah, of course he was.
You know?
Yeah.
So I wasn't saying nothing out of the ordinary.
Yeah, straight.
And then that was it. Continued to celebrate a bit, then went in the tunnels, oblivious to anything. There was like a little scuffle in the tunnel. And you know, at the ground, the tunnel's tight.
The tunnel's tight, bro.
The tunnel's tight.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah. And there's 22 people in there having a thingy. If I knew at the time, I might have reacted differently. Or I say I might have would have done, 100%. Just go into the dressing room. Still, and for some reason, and to this day, I still don't know why. Well, I know why, because I knew where I was going afterwards. And anyone I was going to speak to was at the game. But any footballer knows, as soon as they come in the dressing room, pick up their phone, get on the phone, "Oh, where are we going?" Right? I didn't touch my phone, you know, that day. If I would have touched my phone when I got into the change room, I would have known what had gone on.
I hear you.
But I still didn't know. I go and take a shower, kit man comes out. Anton, JT wants to see you. I said, "Okay, no problem."
So what are you thinking? He wants more beef, or you thinking he wants to chat? What are you thinking?
Don't know.
Okay.
See where it is.
Yeah, because it was just warm earlier on.
Yeah,
it
but
weren't
like,
friendly.
okay, cool. See where it is. I went in there. We spoke. I said, "Oh, what happened out there?" I said, "I don't know. You told me what happened." He went, "Oh, what happened out there?" I said, "Well, what did you say to him?" And I said what I said to him. And that was that. And he went, "Oh, by the way, Ashley said that you thought I racially abused you." And I went, "What? No, I didn't. What are you talking about?" And he went, and Ashley was in the dressing room. He went, "Oh, in Ash," and Ashley went, "Yeah." I went, "No, I fucking didn't. What are you talking about?" "No, I didn't." And then JT went, "Oh, we cool. And I said, "Yeah, of course we are. We're cool, boom. And I'll see you later on at Sean Whitefield's birthday party." And that was that. I walked upstairs, I had a box at the time. I bopped in, you know, because we just beat Chelsea. So I had a spring in my step.
That's swag.
100%. Walked in, my mum's in there, my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, a brother, my friend Cheeks was in there. And it's like somber in there. I'm like, my wife went, "Are you all right?" I went, "Yeah." My mum went, "Are you all right?" I went, "Yeah, we just beat Chelsea, of course I'm all right." She went, I think my mum went, did John Terry racially abuse you? And my wife went, "Did John Terry racially?" I went, "No." And then my wife went, "You better look at this." And handed me the phone. So I look at the phone, I watch it, and I give it back. And I'm walking to go back downstairs.
Wow.
The only person who could have stopped me that day was my mum.
Wow.
And she was there. "Anton, shout, Anton, get back here now." Just out of respect for mum, I turn around and I come back. "I know what you want to do, but now's not the time. I'm not doing it." "Okay, mum, no problem." Thinking, I'm going to see him later on anyway. And that was it. It escalated from that. Like, it become massive from that.
Wow.
And I was just like, it was just a whirlwind. And so as I said in the documentary,
How
I
long
didn't
did it
understand.
last? All of this madness of the whole case. How long did that go on
Until,
for?
how long was the case after? I think it was like a year, 10 months after the incident. So for 10 months, I was on the back pages enough every day.
Flipping hell.
Got sent bullets in the post. got sent hate mail, like explicit stuff.
Why are you getting sent hate mail when it's on camera with him saying it? You can read his lips.
I don't know.
Why are you getting that?
Because I allowed people to control the narrative. Because I didn't speak out straight away. I allowed the media to control the narrative. And he spoke straight away. No, this is what it was. I'm not that, I'm not this, I'm not that.
Yeah.
So because they'd heard from him, but they didn't hear from me, they can't write what they think I'm saying because I've not said nothing.
I hear you.
But they can write what he's saying. So
What would you have said if you could have had more control over the narrative before it came out?
Called it for what it was.
Okay.
Called it for what it was. And I say this on the documentary. That's the thing that eats me up more than anything because I was brought up to speak. My mum and dad brought me up to speak. If I don't agree with something, speak. If someone's trying to make you feel uncomfortable, speak. And I went away from what I knew. And my mum went through some stuff as a white woman who fell in love with a black man and had black children.
Yeah.
People will say, you're mixed race, you're mixed race. I'm not, I'm black.
Because that's how you're getting dealt with. That's how you're
Society sees me as a black man.
That's right.
They're not society ain't gonna look at me and go, oh look, there's Anton, there's that mixed race boy.
Thank you.
They're gonna go, look, there's Anton, there's that black boy. So you can't tell me that I'm not black, because society sees me as black.
That's right.
And I know I'm black. And I want to be seen as black. I don't want to be seen as anything but black.
How should that case have gone if justice was being done?
I don't really care about it now. I don't really care about it.
But let's just keep it real. How should the case have gone if justice was being done?
I think it's there for everyone to see. I don't think...
There's nothing to debate.
No, and I still don't understand
Why we're even debating.
I don't understand. But, as I said...
So what does that tell you about the football scene? What does that tell you about the justice system?
It just tells you that what we already know. That's what it does. It tells you what we already know.
What do we already know, Anton?
We already know that ethnic minorities get treated differently when it comes to the justice system. And it's evident, and I'm not sitting here saying for 1 second that is definitely the reason why that happened, because he got found not guilty. I can't do that, you know? And I refuse to get into them type of situations where we're talking about the negative.
Yeah.
I refuse to get into that situation where we're talking about the negative. Because people will look at me, especially from our community, and will go, and I've heard some podcasts say it. Why is he only talking up now because of Black Lives Matter? He's only talking up now because, why is he only talking up now? And comparing my story to their story. But the difference is they didn't have to live it with the world, I did. Everywhere I went,
it was about that.
It was about that.
You were being judged on that.
I would walk down the street and people would go, oh yeah, John Terry was right, you are a black cunt. And I can't do nothing. I've just got to take it. Because I'm in a public eye, and the minute I do something, it's my problem. Don't care what he said to me, it's my problem.
Wow.
So don't compare my story to yours.
So on one hand, there's people that can bless you because there's that privilege because you've worked hard and been in that situation. But on the other hand, people violate as well because you're in that position.
Exactly, because they know you can't do nothing. They know, and if you do something, they're on to a winner.
Because that's what they want.
They want a reaction.
They want a
do.
reaction, and they want to make money, and they want...
100%. And I've heard people on other podcasts, and I don't need to name them, but like, this is my thing. I got approached 2 years ago to do a documentary, way before Black Lives Matter was even known, really.
Yeah.
And my first conversation with the BBC and with Wanda was, if we're going to do this, it has to be done my way. And the reason why, if you want to make it about an Anton versus John Terry situation, I'm not doing it.
Interested.
Because the message that I've got will get lost. And I said in the documentary, we've got a stereotype that's attached to us of being someone who's mouthy, shoots from the hip. I don't want to be that person. I want to try and change that narrative. I want to show there's more to us than that. We're loving people, man.
Yeah.
So if I'm now making it about me and him, I'm contradicting myself. I'm about positive change. And the only way to make sure that people understand there's positive change, you have to have empathy. And people misinterpret the word empathy. See, I have empathy for John Terry. I have empathy for Ashley Cole.
Of course.
But my empathy ain't saying I accept what's happened. It's saying I'm willing to listen. There's a difference. And whatever happened between us, what's going on now is bigger than all of us combined.
That's right, bro.
And if we can, and this is why I want them on the documentary, because if we can come together to create change and create positive change, that's big, man. That's beautiful. And it's powerful.
Yeah.
It is powerful. And what we're seeing now in society is not everyone, not just black people are talking about racism. Everybody's talking about it. Which is the most powerful thing that we've seen when talking about racism for years. And we're not fighting the same fight that we were fighting years ago. So the fight's got to be different. Years ago, it was a street fight because people were comfortable walking down the street shouting racial abuse. I'm not saying that don't happen, because it still does. But we're in a better place. But we're in a place now where we're looking at society and looking at businesses and going, why is there not diversity? Forget the working environment, forget the platform. So I use an office job, for example. We're not talking about in the office and on the desk. There's diversity there.
We're talking
but
about in the
senior management level and boardrooms, there's no diversity.
Decision making.
And that's the fight that we're at now.
That's right.
That's the fight that we're fighting. That fight is different.
That fight's different.
That fight is different.
And that one changes the game.
And I'm seeing that more after the documentary with the conversations that I'm in now.
Got you.
I'm doing talks for Visa. I'm doing talks for Race Equality Week. I'm doing talks for BT.
Nice. That's right.
You know, about diversity and inclusion.
Experience.
But there's no point me doing a conversation to your team about diversity and inclusion when you look up at the top, there ain't none. Because one thing's for sure, things don't rock from the bottom up, they rock from the top down.
Yes, my brother.
So let's start to see change up there.
That's correct.
So that the people that you've employed, and a lot of these places are diverse. Could it be better? Yes, it can. But that diversity on your platform, in your room, in your office space, have they got someone that if something happens to them, or they get racially abused whilst working for your firm? Have they got someone who's a decision maker who understands what it is that they're going through and can fight for them in a way, in a place of experience and know how you're feeling? It's a different fight.
Different fight.
It's a different. When I'm in there and I'm coming from a place of experience and what it done to me, you can't question me because it's my experience.
That's right.
But the likelihood of it is that person is feeling the same way that I did.
That's right, my bro.
Because when I ask white people who have got friends who have been racially abused, when they're with them, and you say to them, how did that make you feel? I felt angry. That's what I felt angry. I felt hurt. I felt upset. You know what? That's how we feel.
That's right, my bro.
So you felt the exact same way we did.
So it's a humanity thing, bro.
Exactly.
We just want to be treated equally as all
100%.
Brilliant, brother.
And this is what it comes down to, so I'm going to stop here. But this is what it comes down to. We ain't never going to win this fight on our own. It's impossible. We got to win it as a collective.
Yeah.
That's why
That's right.
my documentary, I said from the start, my documentary needs to be diverse.
Yeah.
I don't want just black people talking about racism.
No. You got to see how both sides are both victims. Black people are victims and white people, because they've been conditioned to think that black people are less valuable than they are.
Of course.
So you're just as much a victim as we are.
And if that's the saying that's there now, is if you stay quiet, you're part of the problem.
That's correct. Bro.
Okay, so that's why, Jordan Henderson, can you come and speak on my documentary, please?
There you go. Let's all work together.
Of course I will.
Yeah.
Gary Lineker, of course.
Yeah, let's all work together.
Henry Winter, of course.
Make change. That's how you do it, baby.
When you look at the documentary and when you watch the documentary, the prominent and the home-hitting parts of the documentary, they're not what I say. Because to a middle-aged white male, some of them, I'm a broken record because they've heard it before.
Yeah, that's right.
It ain't what I said that was prominent and was home-hitting. It's what Jordan Henderson said. It's better late than never.
Yeah.
I take full responsibility as the club captain of Liverpool that we got it wrong from top to bottom with the Suarez situation. But it's better late than never to apologise.
And fix it and get
Neil
things right.
Warnock. I'm a 60-plus-year-old man who used to say things that I shouldn't have done, but I've had to educate myself. It's home-hitting.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, bro.
Henry Winter. The FA and all their Mal, Stow and Powell. It's home-hitting.
Home-hitting, bro.
But what we need to understand is home-hitting because the people who do the abusing, they're watching and hearing from people who look at themselves when they look in the mirror.
That's correct.
Talking about it in a way that me and you would talk about it. And hearing someone like Jordan say that he felt angry, he felt hurt, that's the same way that we feel when it happens to us. So this says, it don't mean that it don't hurt us less or that it don't hurt them less.
They're all the same, King.
Do you know what I mean?
The same.
But it hurts if you want it to, because if you've got that level of understanding or you've got that, I don't see colour, I just see you. You're gonna hurt. Of course you are. Because your brethren's getting said something to him that's gonna hurt him. So if it's hurting him, it's hurting me. At the end of the day.
That's right.
And I think football can be the catalyst for change.
Football can, because it has such a massive influence in
It can be the
people's
catalyst for
lives.
change. It can be the catalyst for change. And I'm not going to say I can't sit here and say it's going to change society like that, or it's going to change everything in society, because it's not.
But
it can be the catalyst for it.
That's right. It's a big start.
When we look at the boards at the FA, when we look at the boards at Premier League teams or football teams, they need to be diverse.
They need to be diverse.
They need to be diverse.
Management needs to be diverse.
Because you know what happens? The management needs to be diverse. But do you know what happens? if they become diverse, other sectors will become diverse. Because when you look at the financial sector, if there's, say for instance, there's a renewable energy bond that's been created, right? And they want investors for it. Who do they go to put money into so it's got credibility? Sports stars. They come to the footballers. Oh, so-and-so's in it. He's put 20 grand in. I'll do it then. No problem.
That's right.
Yeah? So if that's happening at that level, at a transactional level, why wouldn't it happen at the top level?
Boy, that's right.
Our footballers becoming diverse at the top, so are we. That's where we can be the catalyst for change.
There you go, King.
But to get there, do you know what we got to do?
Yeah.
Continue to educate ourselves. Because me, as a black man, I don't want a job because I'm black. I want a job because I'm good at it.
You're good at it.
I don't want to be hand-given something because
That's
of
it.
the colour of my skin.
Yeah.
I want to be given something because I'm good at it. So my thing to us as a community, keep educating yourself.
That's right.
So when that opportunity comes, they've got no reason to say, no, you're not qualified enough.
Beautiful, bro.
There's no way out.
How would you, along your journey through life, how would you wrap up the interview to leave the listeners with something from Anton Ferdinand that he's got from his life's journey that they could maybe take on theirs? And there's plenty, but just something that you feel that you've learned.
Don't let people control your narrative. You can control your narrative. Whether it's educating yourself, whether it's speaking out on something that you don't agree with. Don't allow people to control your narrative. You control your narrative by the way you conduct yourself.
Beautiful.
You know, people have a perception of you. That's their narrative on you. How do you change that narrative? By being yourself and doing things right.
Not playing into what they're saying about you.
Not playing up to the stereotype that we have. That's been given to us from years ago.
Beautiful. Beautiful. You heard it from Anton Ferdinand. And we have had so much knowledge and wisdom and nuggets from this awesome brother today. We thank you for listening in once again to the next episode. Peace out.